for this joyful moment in the history of Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University. I would like to welcome those of you who have not had the opportunity to visit our illustrious campus. We call it a magnificent campus that sits majestically on a hill inside the neighborhood of Normal within the mighty city of Huntsville. So give all of those a warm round of applause. Huntsville, Alabama A&M, Normal. I'd like to first recognize members of the executive cabinet of this university. Would you please raise your hand, stand, and be recognized? I won't recognize them individually, just raise your hand. Please give them a round of applause. Any trustees who are here, please stand and be recognized. Trustees, please stand and be recognized. This is Dr. Beth Richardson, one of our local trustees, who just happens to be an alum of Tuskegee Institute when she was there, y'all. Now it's university. But she's a community leader here in Huntsville, and we're always happy to see her when she's able to join us. Any faculty? Please raise your hand. Outstanding. Staff, please raise your hand. Let us see you, staff. All right, good job. And where are the greatest students in the universe? The students of Alabama A&M University. All right, you don't sound so convinced. That means you need to leave here and go study. So thank you all for coming, and we will proceed with the program. So, with that being said, I have the illustrious pleasure of opening the program. And I would like to recognize two trailblazers, two people who really have made a difference in this literal term space. The first one is retired astronaut and NFL player, Mr. Leland Melvin. Would you please raise your hand and let the people see you? And we're grateful for him joining us today. And please forgive me if I say this wrong, Miss Jory Cates, an accomplished producer. It is Miss Cates' documentary that you will be viewing today, and it sheds light on the experiences, challenging, and triumphs of Black astronauts. Through her work, she has beautifully captured the stories that have shaped the past, present, and future of space exploration. This afternoon, we come together to appreciate the indomitable spirit, resilience, and extraordinary accomplishments of those individuals who have ventured into the unknown, pushing the boundaries of human potential. Now, it is my profound honor to introduce the director of the Southwest Regional Office of STEM Management at Marshall Space Center. He's an expert in strategic communications and external affairs with over 25 years of experience in congressional relations, legislative strategy, and stakeholder engagement in public communications. Previously, he served as the Deputy Director of the Office of Strategic Analysis and Communications at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, overseeing strategic development, public and employee communications, external relations, performance and capabilities management, and engineering cost estimating. Over his long career, he's held various communications and government affairs positions within the federal government, the nonprofit sector, and private industry. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science from Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. Please welcome our friend, Mr. Kevin McGough.
They put way too much in there. I don't know why they keep you on.
Yeah, he didn't tell me.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. President has been here in his role as president for just under 2 years, and we are already doing amazing things with NASA and Alabama A&M, and we are really excited about that. So let's give him a round of applause. So on behalf of NASA and NASA's Office of STEM Engagement, led by Mike Kincaid at NASA headquarters, and NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, just a few miles away from here, and the acting director there, Joseph Pelfrey, I say welcome to you this afternoon. I need to tell you, NASA is involved in some really difficult stuff right now. We plan to put the first woman and the first person of color on the surface of the moon here real soon. Does that sound like tough stuff to y'all? We're not just going to the moon to plant a flag. We're going to the moon to learn how to live and work on the moon, another body, so that we can ultimately take those lessons into deep space and on to Mars. So I suspect you agree with me that that's really, really difficult stuff, right? Well, I need to tell you, the reason why we're here is because we need the best and the brightest to do difficult things. Does that make sense? Right. Well, we find the best and the brightest at all universities, but myself personally, I am particularly passionate about finding the best and the brightest at HBCUs. Yeah. I'm an HBCU grad, and I'm very proud of that, and I know firsthand that HBCUs do indeed graduate the very best and the brightest. And so for the students that are here, we need you. We need you to partner with us, to engage with us in internships and student challenge teams, all kinds of ways to get you all connected to the NASA mission. Because with you, we can do anything, but we need your help. All right? So I challenge you all to get involved and engaged at NASA. That's for the faculty to connect your students with them. It's for the parents to connect your students with NASA. We need you, we want you, and we believe that we can do more when we have you on our side. Does that make sense? Okay. Good. Now, you didn't come here to listen to me. I have the distinct honor of introducing to you the talent for today, astronaut Leland Melvin. So what you may not know is that in the NASA community, you might think that because we engage with astronauts from time to time, it gets old. It doesn't. It does not get old. They are rock stars to us, just like they are rock stars to you all. And Leland Melvin is a rock star among rock stars. And so I could tell you that he's flown on 2 missions. I could tell you that he's the very first astronaut, a person to fly in space who's also been drafted by an NFL team. I can tell you that he's a musician, all kinds of great things that are in his bio. But the thing that stands out most for me is that because he's a rock star, he's an astronaut, he could chart his own path. He could work anywhere within NASA. And when given the opportunity, he chose to lead the Office of Education, the office that's responsible for connecting students with NASA missions. So that tells me that he's very passionate about students, about engaging you all and connecting you all to the work that NASA does. And so with that, let me introduce to you all Leland Melvin.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, President Wims. I love being here at Alabama A&M University. How you guys doing? When I was a kid, 5 years old, Bill and Buzz and the folks were walking on the moon. And I didn't see this. I was the antenna engineer behind a Sylvania black and white television set, which meant I was holding the rabbit ears and didn't actually see the transmission. My dad said, move your right hand 30 degrees down, your left hand 10 degrees up, and don't move. The next day when all the kids went out to play astronaut, I was like, I don't want to be Neil or Buzz. I want to be this guy that my dad talked about who was Arthur Ashe. He was the first African American to win all the major tournaments. And he trained 5 blocks down the street from where I grew up. So when I transitioned, let me see, I think some slides here. Let me see if I can get these slides going. When I transitioned from playing football in high school to going to college, I majored in chemistry. And I majored in chemistry because my mother gave me a chemistry set when I was in 6th grade, and I blew her living room up. Now, don't do that, but that activated my brain to science. And all I needed was a lab coat and goggles to be a scientist. Majored in chemistry, played football, got drafted, as Kevin said. And when I pulled my hamstring at the Detroit Lions, I ended up starting graduate school in material science engineering and then got signed with the Dallas Cowboys for the next season. When that was over, I went to NASA. A friend of mine said, "You'd be a great astronaut." I'm like, "Me, an astronaut, really?" I laughed at him. And then that same year I didn't apply to be an astronaut, another friend of mine applied and he got in. And I said to myself, wait a minute, if that knucklehead can get in, I can get in, right? So I applied the next selection and I got in. I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought that I'd be flying in space. But the reason we're here today is because, what color is space? Black, right? So we need everybody to be part of this space journey. It's a $3 to $4 trillion industry that everyone needs to be part of. Scientists, engineers, lawyers, doctors, everyone can be part of this NASA mission. And I want to give a shout out to Blue Origin. The Blue Origin people, can you stand up in the house? Blue Origin. Thank you for what you do to help this mission, to let everyone know that this is possible for them too. We were just in Martha's Vineyard with the capsule talking to kids in Boston, in Massachusetts. And I think this Color of Space movie is critical to letting people know the trials and the tribulations and the things that we all go through. Everyone goes through stuff, but it's that perseverance like Harriet Tubman had. When Harriet Tubman got to her destination, she said, "I'm going back to get my family." The person said, "You can't do that." She said, "Watch me." So whenever someone says you can't do something, "You okay, sweetie? You got this, right?" You tell them to watch me. So next I'm going to introduce Jory Cates, who was the producer of The Color of Space, and will say a few words about the movie. Jory?
All right, I'm a short one, so I'll bring that down. Thank you for being here. Again, I'm Jory Cates. I'm the live producer and director at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C., and the producer for The Color of Space. This has been an incredible opportunity to share all of the stories specifically for NASA's Black astronauts. So I feel a little at home. I went to school here in Alabama, in Sylacauga, so I'm not sure if you guys know where that is. So my family's still there. My mom, she was born in Alabama, but she went to school here. And having the opportunity to be here and to briefly just walk through where she went to school and kind of the steps that she took has been incredibly special for me. So for this opportunity, again, this is a very large place in my heart for the Color Space, but also for it being here. I want to thank all of the sponsors here, and Club for the Future, Blue Origins, NASA Engagement, just everyone who participated in this. And I especially want to give a big thank you to the astronauts themselves. Just sitting there and listening to their stories and them being very honest about their experience is something that is needed, right? Everyone needs to kind of hear that. And so for me, I didn't know all of the stories for all of the Black astronauts. It wasn't until I kind of started working on The Color of Space, and I started to learn about the astronauts personally and as individuals. And I can tell you, it's amazing to see the passion, and it really is. They want to continue the legacy for the next generation and to hold the torch. So that is what my hope is for watching the color space. I hope that you leave here with inspiration and with knowledge, and also as a gift to know that the future is here for you, but also you're meant to do whatever is in your heart. All right? The power is within you. And so I hope that you see yourself represented in this. That is my honest, my hope for that. So that's all I'm going to say because I just want to get this started. So thank you for being here, and we'll talk afterwards. So please enjoy the color space.
There we go. Can you all hear me okay? Good, good. So was that pretty awesome or what? One of the things that really stood out to me was the statement that representation matters. It matters when you see people who look like you in these inspiring positions. It inspires us to do great things. And so this is this point in the day where we're going to do a little bit of what we call a fireside chat. In the interest of time, as opposed to me asking my super thoughtful and probing questions, I'm going to turn it over to you all and see if you all have some questions for our panel. But first, let me introduce Brian Odom, give him a chance to introduce himself as our NASA historian. Brian?
I think you summed it up right. I'm Brian Odom. I'm the NASA chief historian, and my research interest has always been in this history, so I appreciate the time to be here and the film that you did.
Absolutely.
Brian's being a little humble. He has done extensive research in terms of civil rights era and the role that African Americans and other minorities have played in NASA history. So he'll be able to answer some tough questions as well. All right, so this is your chance. So please put your hand up real high. I see we've got one here. And then if we could go over here was the second hand I saw. And then we'll go there. Okay.
Cool, perfect. All right, just state your name and your question.
My name is Emery, and my question is, why did you start working for NASA?
Why did we start working for NASA? Why don't we start with you, Leland, and then we'll come on down. We'll work our way on down.
Okay, Emery, I started working for NASA because there was a woman named Rosa Webster who grabbed my arm at a career fair and said, "You're going to work at NASA." And I said, "No, I'm not going to work at NASA." And she stayed at it. She was persistent, right? You've been persistent before, right? Studying hard, running, doing different things. And she said, these are the opportunities and things that you can do at NASA. You can get your PhD, you can work on these really cool programs, you can go to space one day if you want to. So she convinced me, and I listened, and I worked at NASA. So that's why.
Great question. It's a great question. So for me, my goal is not to be an astronaut, but yet. Okay. So my background is actually in news and journalism, and when I saw the opportunity to be a producer and director for NASA, at first I didn't know what that would entail. I mean, I could assume a few things. But my hope was getting the chance to really share some incredible stories. And so I've been able to do that. You know, I've interviewed a lot of the, leadership for NASA, but the color space obviously is kind of my personal special project. So, so having the opportunity to do that and to share this story, not something that I thought was going to be something I could do, but I have. So, yeah, thanks.
Well, for me, it was coming to NASA is something everybody's always interested in NASA, right? but it's like, you know, the hard sciences, STEM. I was drawn more to liberal arts, right? So I was a liberal arts major. So where do I fit in? But then I found out, oh man, there's space for everybody here, right? You need liberal arts, right? Because, you know, while the STEM education is so critical and it's the foundation, science and engineering for NASA, but, you know, liberal arts brings another side, the critical thinking skills, the analytical skills that you need to really to do that. And so to be the historian for an agency that does such great things, that was the draw. So it's a great job.
So my story is very similar to the last three. I am not a STEM, I didn't pursue a STEM degree when I was in school. In fact, to be honest with you, I was intimidated by the STEM disciplines. It's one of the biggest, you know, you have those things in your life where you look back and you say, I wish I had made a different decision. That's one of the ones that runs deep for me. And so I'm a political science major. And I didn't know that there was a place for me at NASA. I just knew I liked to work with Congress. And when I was presented with an opportunity to actually be involved in legislative affairs, and so remember, NASA has engineers and scientists, but we have communications professionals, accountants, historians, public affairs experts, and all of the like. And so I just was blessed with the opportunity to work with Congress for the greatest place to work in government, which is NASA. Right over here, there you go.
Question. What do you, sorry. My name is Guy. Was your favorite accomplishment at NASA?
That's right. I thought going to space would be my favorite accomplishment. What was your name again? Guy. Okay, nice to meet you. But when I came back home from space, I remembered this young man that I had talked to who was in 9th grade, and I signed a picture for him, and he said, you know, he said, can I be an astronaut too? I said, yeah, you can be anything you want to, and I signed, if you believe in yourself, you can do it, be anything. Fast forward, after my 2 space flights, I'm giving a commencement speech at George Mason University. This young man walks up to me and he says, hey, do you remember me? I'm like, no, I don't remember who you are. And he goes, well, I'm the kid you signed a picture to when I was in 9th grade, and you told me I could do or be anything. He told me that he had just graduated with his PhD in aerospace engineering because I told him that he could. So that warmed my heart the most, even more than flying in space, because I helped transform and change someone to do something that was powerful.
Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely.
Like you.
Any other questions out there? Raise your hand real high.
Great that they have questions, yeah.
There you go. Say your name.
My name is Emery, and why did you want to be an astronaut?
Ooh, great question.
That's a good question, Emery. Do you want to be an astronaut? Okay. Do you eat your green beans?
She's thinking about it.
Got to eat your green beans. You got to do all those things that sometimes you don't want to do. But the biggest part about being an astronaut is you get a chance to talk to people like you and inspire you and let you know what it's like to look back at the planet as you're going around the planet every 90 minutes. You see a sunrise and a sunset every 45 minutes. And you do it with people you used to fight against. We had Russians and Germans and the first female commander of the International Space Station. We were like float foods each other's mouths. You know, I'd catch the food and they float some back to me. But you're working together as a family, as a team. And it's people that are all around the world working together. So I think that's one of the biggest things about being an astronaut, that you get to bring people together to work together as a family, like you're going to do one day.
Awesome. We've got one back there, and then we've got one right over here.
Good afternoon. My name is Xavier Turner. I'm a junior computer science student here at Alabama A&M, and I just wanted to ask, seeing as though a lot of the astronauts that you guys have in your circle are trailblazers, what sort of advice would you give a young black male like myself that also wants to go out and be a catalyst for other young black kids to get into the STEM field?
Can I take this one? Because that's very interesting that you said you're a computer science major here at Alabama A&M, because that program was started by a man named Clyde Foster back in the 1960s from Marshall Space Flight Center. And it was for the idea of inspiring people here to go into those careers. And Clyde is he's no longer with us, but he's definitely somebody with that program and with that question you just asked that shows that the work that he did, it's kind of struck me there that you said that. So Clyde is somebody, he's a giant in the field. Just read about him, but I'll turn it over to you.
I think the biggest thing right now with everything that's going on in the world, the universe, is to believe in yourself from the jump, from the beginning. And if you need help, if something's going on, you're having troubles or whatever, get help and take care of yourself before anyone else, because you can't be good to anyone else unless you got yourself straight, right? When I did this training with my first crew, it's called NOLS, National Outdoor Leadership School. We go take backpacks, 80-pound backpacks out in the wilderness for 10 days. And my instructor said, you got to make sure that your stuff is straight first before you can even, or you're going to hold people up. You're going to keep people from even getting on the mission if you're late or behind. So before you help someone else, help yourself. That's really the first thing. And then the second thing is to just have that belief, no matter what's going on, to believe in yourself, right? To know that it's possible. If I'm up here, if Jory's up here, if Brian's up here, if Kevin's up here, and we made it through, you can do the same thing. And just have that belief and that faith in yourself to keep moving forward.
That was a great question. So we have one more up here. Hey, let's give it up for Lucas, who's running back and forth with the microphone.
And getting your steps in.
I am.
So my name is Aiden, and my question is, what was your favorite thing when you were a child?
My favorite thing?
Okay.
You want?
So because I feel, obviously, Alabama, grew up here, it's just all the ideas and memories. So I really wanted to be in TV and film from the jump. So I didn't really have to be in front of the camera, but I was writing scripts with my friends. I remember, so we had camcorders that actually had weight, not your phone. Yes, I remember that. And so my dad would help me with that. And so I think for me, yeah, that's where it started. And I think it just never went away, so.
You don't want to hear my answer, because mine is I loved pancakes when I was a kid. That's kind of random, so let's take it to Leland.
When I was a kid, I loved building things and taking things apart. So I had, building things. So I took the phone apart, and my parents were like, "Where's the phone?" And I mounted all the individual pieces to a piece of wood. So when the phone rang, they had to grab the the piece that you put up to your ear and your mouth from the wood to make it work. And they were like, "Son, you're gonna get in trouble for this." But my dad said, "But that is brilliant. That's creative. That's, learning how to build and create things." So that was fun. I like doing that.
Hey, I think we have time for one more question. I see two more hands. I'm gonna take two more questions. The first one was in the far back, and then in this black shirt midway would be next.
Hello, my name is Pamela Craddock. I just want to say thank you, because today I learned so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you saying that, yeah. And that's what it's about.
And Aiden, when I was talking about the telephone, it wasn't like this kind of phone. It was like the old school phone that you can take apart, okay?
Right here.
It's like, I don't know what that is.
Hi, my name is Kristen Watson. I'm a junior communications media major here at Alabama A&M. And this question is for Jory specifically, because I also want to be a journalist and I want to be able to do news and tell stories like you do and like you've done today. So my question for you is, how did you know that you wanted to be a storyteller?
A little bit of what Bernard said, towards the end here was, you're kind of meant for something, right? And sometimes that shows up a little bit later, but sometimes you just know, and there's always evidence. And like I said, my passion, I knew I wanted to do something with TV and film. And so I just naturally, would write things, just have a vision for just certain video products that I wanted. And at the time, you didn't know if that's a career, but it was always there. From that, I knew I wanted to major in something that would be, in something that I could do, and obviously my parents were like, you gotta make money, so you can't just do, go to Hollywood. But, but journalism was what I majored in. And from that, I expanded a little bit more of what that is. So the production aspect of that, just going through all the roles. So even if you want to be a writer, you still need to know what the production crew, what they do. And so just making sure that you're involved in every aspect. And so from that, I kind of grew, and I knew I wanted to do way more. And then news, comes, and, you start from working cameras and audio, and then we have, a switcher. And so my background was production, but I also wanted to continue like expanding into producing. And so when you're in news, it's usually 2 different tracks, right? You're doing production and then, or you're doing the writing. I always wanted to do both. And so I was interested in, again, every aspect. And working that for years, but knowing that I don't want to just isolate myself with one thing. So I looked for opportunities that matched what I wanted, what matched my passion. And, there's a lot of things that, you go through, definitely in news. But I was always guided by what I wanted and what I knew was instilled in me. And getting to, the opportunity here for, with NASA, but also for the color space, again, I think it is my passion that led me here, because from news to NASA, I am still utilizing those skills from journalism to production and going out to live events, for NASA, and then working with the astronauts and the whole NASA team. Again, I never pictured that. So even for you, start with your passion. And from that, it's going to guide you into so many things that I know that you're going to be shocked at where that leads you. But I think for me, starting with what is inside of you, be true to you. And if you want to do journalism, go for it. Just tap into everything, learn everything. It doesn't mean that you need to be a specialist in everything. It just know a little bit about it. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Hey, so we're going to close out this session, but what I want to do was give each of the panelists a chance to maybe give some closing thoughts before we go. So why don't we start with Brian, and then Jory, and then we'll close out with you, Leland.
Yeah, I think being here at A&M and seeing this here just reminds me of all the research, and you get hung up in the documents, and you kind of lose track that these are stories, and these are these trailblazers actually produce results. And I think to me, that's the big takeaway here. You know, Richard Morrison, Dr. Richard Morrison, who was president here from 1962 for a very long time. You know, he laid a foundation for this university with that in mind, that he was going to bust open doors where he could and, you know, make A&M, as he said in 1967, he was giving a speech downtown, and he said he wanted to make Alabama A&M you know, it had long been a part, it had been a university in the community, but he wanted to make it a university of the community. And I think that's kind of where he really understood, you know, what he was doing and laying the foundations. And this, you know, if he were here with us today to see this building we're in today, you know, it's amazing. But yeah, I think that's it. It's just making this history real with seeing that story that you told, Jory. So congratulations, wonderful.
The big takeaway, I hope for everyone, but the title, The Color of Space, that in itself, it's very specific, but for me, it was a claim. And I'm hoping that you take this as, you know, the sky is not the limit. Again, follow your passions and be true to you. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what I want to make sure that everyone leaves here inspired and following their own journey. So.
Yeah, Jory said the sky is not the limit. The sky can't be the limit with the footprints on the moon, right? But I just want to say thank you all for coming out, and I just want to say also to the younger ones over here that don't know what the old school phones are, go to Google, you can find that. But, you know, okay, you know. But to the, you got it. But to the young, to the little bit older college students, and to the little bit older, we need to make sure that everyone has a legacy connected back to something that where people have given their lives, they've given so much so that we could have the things that we have right now today. And I think it was Victor said in The Color of Space that we're all connected to this legacy, and it's our duty to do our part in this legacy so that our Aidens and our Guys and our Emerys and so forth will be along this same journey to greatness and to excellence. And whether it's building tractor beams or going on the moon or Mars or beyond, we can do that because we've all supported each other's collective legacy. And thanks to NASA, thanks to Blue Origin, and thanks to A&M University for helping us establish that continued legacy of excellence through our little young ones here. So thank you, and Godspeed on the journey.